Bonjour les amis. Welcome to a new virtual tour with France with Vero. It is the end of the year and I wanted to release a virtual tour on January 1st, 2026. I've been blessed to spend the last few days in one of my favorite cities in France. If you believe influencers who have been releasing videos about the city in the last couple of years, it's underrated. It's not underrated. There are tons of videos out there. Then again, most of them have been filmed recently. Now, some of us, of course, knew this great city before. The city is called Lille in northern France. Lille has a special place in my heart because I lived here during my elementary school years with my family, and I've come back on a regular basis when I could. Lille is also where I filmed 2 virtual tours in December of 2020 during the French lockdowns when all the restaurants and cafes were closed. And that month I learned a valuable lesson. The holiday vibe, in spite of the lockdowns, was alive and well in Lille. So, this is the 5-year anniversary of these tours I released in 2020. And I thought, since I've been here for a while and enjoyed the city, before I get out of town, I thought I would take you on a walk with me. Now, because I've already shared a lot about the history and the architecture of this great city in my previous tours, and I'll be linking them in the description below this video, I'm just going to do what we call a talk and walk. And I will be sharing some glorious sights with you. You can see behind me the lights just came on. It's about 5 p.m. Pretty cold out. And I'll try and share some new sights I didn't show you last time, 5 years ago when I filmed those tours. So if you're ready, join me in Lille, northern France, one of the most festive cities in France during the holidays. You ready? Follow the tour guide. Now you are in for a treat, friends. Now it's a bit challenging. It's pretty busy. This is the school holidays. The kids are out of school. You got lots of kids around. There are lots of tourists as well, though I must say most of them speak Dutch. But this is just the right time of day to enjoy the lights above our heads. I'm going to take you through streets where traffic is a little lighter. We are in a part of town called Le Vieux Lille, the old part of town, a neighborhood that has been through a lot. Lille is a very old city. The size, about 240,000 or so. So a pretty big size, pretty big French city here. Growing, very dynamic, very lively because they have a lot of students as well. The weather, not so great. Gray for a lot of months of the year. A little cold in the winter, but Lille makes up for it with fascinating history, glorious architecture. And this is a city, a neighborhood in particular, that's been completely overhauled over the last few decades. When I lived here with my family, a long, long time ago, as a little girl, well, this neighborhood, Le Vieux Lille, was not a place where you would spend a lot of time. So whatever happened here started happening in the second half of the 1980s. Big restoration program. And now, it's thriving. It's changed a lot, but it's thriving. This child is not impressed with the lights. Now, what you will notice is a lot of signs of gentrification. You have Alain Ducasse, the famous chocolate shop, on the right-hand side. You will notice a lot of clothing stores, and a lot of them happen to be French and international chains. So roughly, what's been happening through France, which I documented in some recent articles, is happening here in Lille, in Le Vieux Lille. On the right here, those people are lining up to go to Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a tea room, English-style tea room. It's owned by a family, and they, I think the owner is part French and part English. So they have scones, tea, all the delicious stuff. And typically there's a line because you can go inside, order at the counter, and then sit down and enjoy the goods. And this is a great view of the ceilings in the top floors of these gorgeous buildings. We are in Lille, which is the former capital of Flanders, French Flanders, and the architecture, though it's been French since the late 1600s, the architecture is very unique. And what I love about Lille is that you can come here. It's only a 59 high-speed train ride, TGV ride from Paris. You can come here for the day, do some shopping, explore the lovely streets of Le Vieux Lille, and then you can go back. It's very easy to do, but there's always something to do, and the food is wonderful. Probably because of the cold weather, the locals are well known for their lively personalities, conviviality, and there are so many pastry shops, great restaurants with very hearty food. We might get to peek at some of the menus on the way if you're interested in that. So this video will not be edited. I'm just going to film, which means it will be gloriously imperfect, just like life itself. I'm just going to keep filming. Thank you for joining me today. This is Vero, France with Vero, and I am taking you on a walking tour around the beautiful city of Lille in northern France. Lots of shops, as you can see, and a lot of the shops are clothing. Not all, but a lot of them. I will try and take you to streets I haven't shown you before in the other two virtual tours you'll find linked in this video notes, and I encourage you to watch them. The difference is I'm not wearing a face mask this time, because back in December 2020 we had to, even outside, and the restaurants and cafes are all open. So this is great. Now, while I was here, I spent a couple days here with my son and then hooked up with a friend of mine who's lived here for 25 years. We used to work together back in the day in the corporate life. She took me yesterday to Gelato and Coffee across the street, this little boutique you see, and she says this is the best ice cream in Lille. There's a little room upstairs, you can see those two windows, where you can, very steep staircase actually, spiral staircase, and you can sit up there. They have delicious ice cream and coffee, and they even have waffles, which is one of the local specialties. We are now walking on a street called Rue Basse, the low street, B-A-S-S-E. Here in the corner, look at this gorgeous building. You recognize maybe the sign that says Paul. Paul is this boulangerie, bakery that you see everywhere in France now, especially in train stations. It was born here in Lille. It's a big name locally, Paul, and this is one of their shops. It's quite pretty. I'm going to take a left here. The street will take us, it's Rue Mazurelle, and this street will take us to more of this area. It's a little early for dinner, of course, though the restaurants are quite busy. They have two services each, so you have to book either at 7 or you book at 9:30. And a lot of them were sold out over the last few days. So Lille is quite popular, not at all underrated. Not anymore, thank you, social media. Now, what you're not seeing today is the rain. It's been exceptionally sunny over the last few days, which was a big perk. I did not expect it. Nobody did, I think. Cold, but so sunny. And it's even prettier with the blue skies. All these streets have what we call pavés, P-A-V-E-S, cobblestones. Some of them are original, but many of them have been replaced. in the same style they were originally installed. Typically, they're still installed by hand. But they did that during and after the lockdowns in 2021, I think, try and restore the streets. And a lot of the streets of Le Vieux Lille are actually pedestrian only for most of the week. The reason I took you here is to see the local cathedral. It's called Notre-Dame de la Treille, Treille. Now, this is a unique cathedral in many ways. One, it is a Notre Dame that's not crowded, big plus. Two, it's new or newer. You see this facade, this very modern facade? It was inaugurated in 1999, and the whole church they started building in the second half of the 19th century. It's fascinating inside. The bell tower is over here. You see it? Perfect timing for us, friends. There she goes. What's lovely is that this big door you see ahead of us, this big facade, once you're inside in the daytime and you look in this direction, you can see the daylight go through it, which is very unique. The stained glass is remarkable. Really well worth a visit. Notre-Dame de la Treille. Let's keep going. It's been a while since we've done well, it's not live, I know. We used to do weekly live virtual tours in 2020 and 21. But this is a talk, pretty good, right? We're just walking. I hope you leave comments if you have questions. Once you started watching this tour, let me know if you have questions. If you enjoyed the tour, I love to read your comments. We are taking a little street here. It's getting harder for me to read the names. It's called Rue des Trois Molettes. M-O-L-L-E-T-T-E-S. Molettes. Rue des Trois Molettes. Now, Lille has a very long, complex history. I won't tell you again because I already did in those other virtual tours, and this is not the focus of this tour today. But it's been around forever. There used to be a primitive medieval castle right behind me where the cathedral is standing. There's a river that runs through it called La Deule, and there were canals crisscrossing the city. A lot of them were filled, dried up in the 1930s. So a lot of these streets sometimes stand where the water used to be. Not all of them, of course. Ooh, is this open still? This is open. Perfect. We are entering a secret garden. Le Jardin de l'Abbaye de Los. That's a town in the suburban area. And there used to be an abbey here, which grew and grew in the Middle Ages and was eventually destroyed after the French Revolution. The only building that's left is the one on the left. It is a protected national monument of France. But today it's been turned into this lovely garden. There is a play area for kids. Imagine living here. So peaceful. And I can see they're restoring, maybe it's a renovation even, this side. And this is where we came in, through this gate. So it's just kind of a shortcut that locals use to go from one side to the next instead of walking around. We're going to do that if that gate over there is open. Otherwise, I'll have to retrace my steps. One of the reasons I'm excited to do this tour is because 5 years ago I didn't have the same camera. I had an iPhone and it was an old one. And my camera has improved a lot, so I'm quite thrilled to capture Le Vieux Lille, the old town of Lille, today with this camera. I hope you're enjoying it. Look at that. Big door. And here we are on the other side. Now it's a lot more peaceful, you see. Fewer stores here. We'll go back to the busy area in a few minutes. But this is your typical street in many towns in northern France, including Lille. And one architectural feature, you notice probably, other than the sandstone, is the brick. The red brick everywhere. In fact, if you restore a place in Lille, you are supposed to use brick. It's a big deal. Look how quiet this is now. Temperature is close to, I would say, 0, 1 maybe, 32, 34 Fahrenheit. But I'm bundled up, I'm good. It's been so sunny and so lovely to see Lille in this weather. What a treat. We are crossing here La Rue Doudin, D-O-U-D-I-N. And I am going to go this way. So we go back to the lively part of town. I hope you all had a great holiday season. By the time you watch this, it will be January 1st. And I hope this will be a nice start to your year, the new year, 2026. Look at the big windows ahead of us in that building. This is a great time of day because you can see inside. All the lights are on. High ceilings. Lille is more affordable than cities like Paris or Nice, of course. It's still, the prices have still gone up. The city has gone up in the world too, and in Europe, I should say. Such a great location to head to London with the Eurostar, to Brussels. A lot happening here in the last few years, so it's become a little bit more expensive than it was. We are back on the Rue des Trois Molettes, which is the street we followed from the cathedral before we entered that secret garden. I'm not lying, you can tell people are kind of bundled up. Here's a street that's called Rue des Vieux Murs, Rue des Vieux Murs, the street of the old walls. And for a long time, a lot of people were not interested in it. But fairly recently, right before COVID actually, in 2019, several art galleries moved here, bars as well, and a famous patisserie. So now it's known as the Passage des Arts, the Passage of the Arts. You can see, we'll see wine bars. Right here is a business, trying to show it to you, Les Frères Pinard. And it says grocery store and wine bar. Now what cracks me up is that Pinard, if it is their last name, it's actually perfect because Pinard is also in French slang a word for wine. So how perfect would it be? You see the blankets they have ready for people to sit outside? Beer is a big deal here in Lille, and because we are so close to Belgium as well, a lot of beer. So if you like beer, microbrews, etc., Lille is a good place for you. Here is the pastry shop I was talking about. You see the sign? It says L'Ogre de Carouselberg. So this is inspired by a children's tale. It was an ogre who used to eat kids, and one day he discovered in a beautiful place some sweets that were so delicious he stopped eating the kids. So this is a reference to that. Story. Now, of course, it's the end of the day. A lot of the pastries are gone, but she is taking out right now. Plonk, sorry, hit the window. You see this in the corner here? This is their specialty. It's called les petits pouchins. Les petits pouchins, and it's really a choux pastry filled with a delicious orange flower water cream with vanilla. And the one on the left is a seasonal one, which they made with chestnuts. I had one of the petits pouchins this morning, and it was to die for. Very, very good. I think it's owned by a young couple who originally moved from Paris here about 10 years ago, and they started this business, and it's one of the best patisseries in Lille. Of course, all that insider information I get from my friend who lives here, has lived here for 25 years. She gave me a private tour yesterday. It was really fun, and she showed me her favorite places. So here's a sign for Passage des Arts, which is a new name for the street that used to be a bit neglected, but now, thanks to art galleries and all these fancy shops we've seen, at least some of them, you can see that there's quite a few things to see around here. Well, this is more standard fare, croque, hot dogs. Love this time of day because it's quiet. It's been really busy, so this is nice. On the left here is one of the famous restaurants. It's been here a while. It's called Le Vieux de la Vieille. It's one of the local estaminets, those working class restaurants that used to be where people gathered in northern France, especially when the weather was terrible outside, to drink, eat, socialize. So now there's a revival of the estaminets. A lot of them are mere restaurants. This one, I think, has gone down a little bit. I used to go here. I didn't think it was as good as last time, but I will show you a good one. But here's a fun sign, le ch'ti goûter. Now, you know, the ch'ti is what the local dialect that used to be spoken in northern France and still is by some people. Les ch'tis is also the name of the people who live in northern France. And le ch'ti goûter is le petit goûter, of course. And they tell you you can have a lot of good things here, like brioche perdu, which is French toast, hot chocolates, gaufres, waffles, vin chaud, mulled wines, crêpes, etc. And the restaurant opens at 7. Always worth 7 p.m., always worth remembering if you do not have a reservation. You arrive early and maybe you'll get a table. It's very cozy inside. So this is Au Vieux de la Vieille. They have great French fries, which, by the way, are Belgian, not French. But you come to Lille, you can have some French fries, and some of them are cooked in beef. I think it's beef fat, the translation. And it's really, really nice. This little square is called Place des Oignons, the square of the onions, Onion Square. It has a very interesting story. Like the rest of this neighborhood, it's gone through a lot, and for a long, long time was working class, really run down, really run down. But at the same time, there was real local life here. There were poor families, and maybe 5 or 6 families would share a water faucet and a bathroom. At the same time, there were kids playing around. There was real life. Once the restoration started in the second half of the 80s, a lot of these people left, and a lot of the independent shops, small businesses, disappeared as well. So now you have clothing stores like the one on the right. So now you have a different type of life. It's more tourists walking around and some locals probably, but these neighborhoods have changed a lot. The same applies to the Marais neighborhood in Paris and other neighborhoods in French cities. Here is a store that features seconde main tendance. Seconde main is an expression that means second hand, so it means used. So this lady sells used clothing, probably some brand names as well. And you know, this is a big thing now. We're trying to recycle clothing. So everywhere you go, you see those stores called friperie, for example. Fripe meaning old clothes. And sometimes they sell them by the weight. The quality varies, of course, but it's a big thing. So people do that now. Lovely street, it's so quiet. So Lille was a prosperous city back in the day, 17th, 18th century and later, thanks to the textile industry, which was manual at first. So a lot of the weavers had their looms and workshops in this neighborhood and in this street, in fact. But artists are still around. I stopped here today. This is a workshop and boutique managed by a young woman called Alicia, and she specializes in asymmetrical jewelry. So it's made of, I'm trying to show it to you, it's going to be hard. There we go. It's called asymmetrical jewelry. So it's made of plexiglass, sorry. So it's very lightweight. So I bought a pair of earrings to match my glasses, purple, and both earrings are different, which is really cool. So she makes earrings, she makes pins, brooches, she makes necklaces, all sorts of things. Her name is Alicia. I will share the information of the store in the video notes, and she does have an online boutique. The big plus of the jewelry she makes is that it's really lightweight, which for a tour guide like myself who tries to pack light is a big plus. Oh, what could be happening here? People are lining up. I think I know. This is another famous local delicacy. Do you recognize it? I'm sure you've had it because it's not just in Lille, though it was born in this region. This is what we know as les merveilleux de Fred. Fred being the owner, Frédéric, who several decades ago reinvented this delicious pastry, which is meringue based. And he's in Paris, he's in other countries as well. There's always a line to buy les merveilleux de Fred. Here is the sign. You see, everybody's lining up here. He did some Yule logs as well, les bûches de Noël for Christmas. Look at the street we just came on. Isn't that pretty? It's lovely. Okay, let's continue. We are here on one of the oldest streets in town, la rue de la Monnaie. Monnaie meaning money, change. The old mint was here. When the city eventually became French, I mean, I won't go back into the history like I said, but the city was belonged to the Counts of Flanders. It was Spanish for a while, then it was French, and eventually it stayed French. And Louis XIV, the Sun King, introduced the mint here. There was a mint along the street, which of course now is shut down. Now, we talked about les estaminets. Do you see the name on that sign up there? Estaminets, those bars and restaurants where people, working classes, used to meet. Well, there are a lot of them in Lille, and they're not all created equal. And if I may suggest one, which is highly rated for good reason, the name is La Petite Brigitte, which is another way of saying the Petite Brigitte, the small Brigitte. You see the name here? Petite Brigitte. So they have 3 locations. I went to the original one, which is 5 minutes away with my son. The food is delicious. So you're looking at traditional specialties from northern France, from Lille. Very hearty food and great ambiance. Great ambiance. You have, for example, la fricadelle. Fricadelle is a local sausage which comes with the famous French fries. You can see it's translated in the ch'ti languages next to it. Another specialty you could try is la carbonade flamande. La carbonade flamande, which is a beef stew with a lot of interesting things and beer. Some people are pretty picky about their carbonade. They want it good. And of course the famous Welsh. Welsh is made with a lot of cheese, some bread and some beer as well. And there are many more things. So it's really easy, traditional, hearty food. Same for the desserts. And you have your selection of beer. Here is the beer selection. It says Pression, which is draft beer. You can see the different sizes. So if you're looking for a good estaminet when you come to Lille, try to book a table. You have to book. It's very popular. Try to book a table at one of the 3 locations of Petite Brigitte. You won't regret it. They were so friendly too. The service was awesome. So here, like I said, Old Street, Rue de la Monnaie, the old mint was here back in the day. Very, very old street. You see, it's apéro time now. People are starting to sit outside, having a drink, apéritif. And it's so pretty with all the lights up there, as well as the lights in the shop windows. Here is Antoine et Lily. This is a business based in the Paris area. You may have seen their shops by the Canal Saint-Martin in Paris. Antoine et Lily. Most of their clothes are made in France, actually, still. This is a place you can visit. It's called l'Hospice Comtesse. It used to be an old hospital. There's a major courtyard behind it. It's closed now, but you can visit it. It's a museum of sorts. Look at that door. Look at the facades as well. All that red brick. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. Really, really striking architecture. And what I do like about Lille, like I said, you can come here in about an hour from Paris for the day if you can't spend any more time. But you immediately feel like you've left. It's almost like you've left France. It feels sometimes like you're in Belgium or in other cities in Belgium, in northern France or in Belgium. It's very, the French say dépaysant, which means to feel like you're out of your regular surroundings. And it's a good thing to be dépaysé, for most people at least. Those who don't like change might not like it so much. Okay, so we're going to try and not get run over. Pick the sidewalk with the fewer people. We're right at the time when the lights are on, but the buildings, the details on the buildings, on the facades are starting to get too dark to see. But again, if you watch those two other virtual tours I filmed 5 years ago, everything is there. You will love it. At the end of Rue de la Monnaie, we reach a pretty square. Lille has many pretty squares. And some lovely streets as well. When the old canals were dried up, they were replaced by streets. Sometimes boulevards. You know, that poor guy, you see bike riding on those pavés or cobblestones can be a little tricky. This is the square called Louise de Bétheny. Louise de Bétheny was a woman who fought, who was actually a spy during World War I for the English. And so the square is named after her. I love this spot because the history is fascinating. It's gone through many, many changes. At some point in time, there was a covered market here, which is now gone. But look at these buildings, that Flemish architecture that is so different from what you see in other parts of France. And then sign of the times, globalization, gentrification, all the stores, the businesses under those buildings are, of course, fancy stores or chains. But it is pretty. It's very pretty. All right, so I'm going to keep walking so I can take you to the star of the show, the largest square of them all. And a lot of cities in southern France and Belgium have those squares, so this is where we will wrap up. If you see a lot of trash cans around, that's because there's been a strike this week. I've heard there was a strike of trash collectors, so don't be surprised. This is France after all. But because it's cold, it hasn't been that big of a deal. Though the bags are starting to pile up a little bit. In the summer it would be a lot worse, if you know what I mean. So again, another beautiful street lined with shops, lots of shops, and glorious architecture. I'll stop and pause when I see something like this building ahead of us, which is so much higher than the others. Now, a lot of these facades date back to the 17th and especially 18th century, when Lille was a very prosperous city, thanks to the textile industry. Cities in the area made or worked with wool a lot. Lille specialized in linen. The reason was linen requires a lot of water. There was a river here, there were canals, it was easier. If you continue in that direction I just showed you, you would reach another little square. So again, fancy names, huh? Here is Monsieur Hermès, pronounced Hermès, please. Or Balzac Paris, beautiful boutique. Not for every budget, of course. But what you don't see in this old neighborhood that used to be for a long time, after it was fancy in the 17th, 18th centuries, it became working class. A lot of immigrants arrived here in the 19th century, just like in the Marais in Paris. But what you don't see anymore is locals living here with their children. You don't see butchers. You see a few bakers, and they're fancy. So all these neighborhoods have somehow turned into elegant windows. And they shine at Christmas, as you can see. So I'm going to follow this one, and it'll take us where I will wrap up in a few minutes. This one is called La Rue de la Grande Chaussée. I have a few options to take you to that big square, so I'm choosing this one. So we can spot a few nice buildings along the way. There are a lot more cars than there were on the weekend, so I'm thinking the pedestrian-only rule doesn't apply throughout the week. Gérard Darel, these are all names you know, you've seen them. Cyrillus, you've seen them in other French cities, maybe even international cities. Which is why it's fun to come here, spend a day and shop. Just avoid Mondays, because a lot of the shops are closed on Mondays, at least in the mornings, that's France. And Saturdays, because the locals will be out in force. So you probably want to hit somewhere right in the middle to be on the safe side if you come here to shop. But I promise you, you won't be looking for, you'll find everything you need here. I can see the star of the show coming up. Let's see if I can pass this group without getting run over. Maybe here. I'll try and stop outside a building where you can see some architectural details. I did describe all this previously, but in the past. But it's worth reminding you of what those incredible buildings look like in the fancier sections, like the one across from us that you're looking at right now. You can see the sculptures on the facade. All right, let's cross here if we can. Okay. Now look at the details here. You see? So you have red brick, you have sandstone, and you have all sorts of carvings and decorations, which I guess for the owners, those are all, or used to be, individual homes, and so for the owners, tall and narrow. And this was a way for them to stand out. Now, one of the most striking views is probably on this side, if I step back a bit to show you. Look at that. This is, friends, the Chamber of Commerce of Lille. Incredible building inside. I once took a tour with a tour guide. And look at the belfry. We call those towers belfry, beffroi, in northern France. Incredible architecture. Not as old as you might think. It was actually built after World War I. The decor. I promised you festive vibes, and I think you agree that Lille does deliver. This is the most famous jeweler in town. Look at that facade. His electricity bill must be pretty high. If you live in France, you know electricity is really expensive here. That's why probably the French don't decorate their homes as much as other countries do, like the United States. That's a pretty street right here. La rue des Trois Couronnes, the street of the Three Crowns. And I am headed for the busiest part of town, so I hope you can still hear me okay. I'll be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes. We will see. And here we are, folks, on La Grande Place. La Grande Place, the big square, also named after a famous man, Charles de Gaulle, because he was born here in Lille and spent many of his summers in his childhood here. In fact, you can visit his grandparents' home. I did this week. It's a beautiful home, easy walking distance from where we are now. And so this square is both Charles de Gaulle and it's also La Grande Place. Look at that. Look at this architecture. So last time we were here, all these terraces, all these restaurants were shut down, okay? But interestingly, in December 2020, there were lots of people around, those zero tourists, zero foreign tourists, I should say, since nobody could travel. So it wasn't quite as crowded, but it was still lively and busy. The restaurants were closed, the terraces were closed, but somehow there was something in the air. There was an energy in the air that made me feel so grateful I had come here to share some holiday vibes with the France with Vero community that was stuck at home. Look at that old building over there. That's the old stock exchange, incredible building. They even have bouquinistes inside. The little home ahead of us here is where you sip some mulled wine and eat some of those lovely waffles they make here. The Ferris wheel. I'll tell you a story about the Ferris wheel. In December 2020, we were all allowed outside until the curfew at 8 p.m. So I had to film before that. And the Ferris wheel was exactly the way it is today. Nobody was allowed to get on it, but the mayor insisted the Ferris wheel had to be here because it is a local tradition for Christmas. So it just spun like this, it was spinning like this, nobody on it, just so the locals wouldn't feel too sad that Christmas was somehow impacted by those lockdowns. And I thought that is a pretty cool thing to do, because it kept everybody happy and smiling and in a festive mood, even though we had been locked up for months. I love this view here because you have the Ferris wheel, the moon is right next to it. I don't know if you see it. It's almost a full moon. La déesse, the goddess, she represents Lille refusing to surrender during the Revolutionary Wars in the 18th century. You have the top of the belfry of the Chamber of Commerce we saw earlier, and we have the statue on top of the old stock exchange building. All vertical lines. Very nice. All right, let's try and get to a quieter place here. Look at these facades. This is the only hotel on the square, Hotel Bellevue. You understand why. The view is amazing. Le Furet du Nord, one of the largest independent bookstores in Europe, several floors worth of books. A great place to go, especially when it's raining. Still open. What you hear is the merry-go-round in the background. It's going full speed. Look at that. I promised you festive vibes. Whether you celebrate or not, this is very pretty. I hope you agree. All right. There is a Christmas market. It's the last day today. Gotta tell you, I don't do Christmas markets. I find them typically too crowded, and I'm not really impressed with the quality of the wares or the food in most Christmas markets. But the one in Lille was really fun. It was just the right size. The food was delicious. A lot of local specialties. And the crafts were pretty good too. So I really enjoyed spending some time there. It's right next door. Look at that. This is a theater. Look at those classical lines, very different type of architecture. You can see the French probably influenced that after the 17th century. This is La Voix du Nord, a very famous local newspaper. That is the building they erected a long time ago. You have your Christmas tree. Oh, and the belfry of the Chamber of Commerce with the Vieille Bourse, the old stock exchange, right next to it. And of course, the infamous Ferris wheel, in French, La Grande Roue, which wasn't being used in 2020, but now it is. Things are almost back to normal, I suppose, and it's really crowded. So let's see. I want to say goodbye properly. I want to say goodbye maybe when it's not too crowded. I'm going to do this. Here we go. I want to say thank you for following me today. This is really crowded, so I'm going to go around. Voila. Thank you for following me as I walked around Le Vieux Lille, the old part of Lille. I hope you enjoyed this tour. Again, you have 2 more to watch if you're interested in visiting Lille soon, linked in the description below. Today, the day you're watching this will be January 1st, 2026. It is time to wish you a very happy new year. I am really looking forward to sharing more of La Belle France with you. On Substack, where I do most of my writing, I publish Lettres de France, Letters from France, monthly on Substack. You can subscribe, it's free. On social media, of course. And then, of course, here on YouTube with virtual tours. I am very close to reaching 10,000 subscribers. Very close. It's a very humble channel. But if you could help me by subscribing, sharing the channel with your friends, and if you enjoy this video, please like it as they say, share it, and let me know in the comment section what you thought. Until we see each other again, friends, Happy New Year, bonne année, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you again on more French adventures. À bientôt!